Hello, 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 and welcome to another broadcast of In the Circle Ministries, our YouTube virtual ministry here, where I'm your host, Rico Blaney. And here where we take things and we put them up under the microscope. We make our plural, our singular, so our body be full of light. And the same way you take things and put them up under the microscope, you can see things that you couldn't see with the normal eye. So being able to see things with your spiritual eye or seeing things through um, the power given through the pineal gland or our third eye, being able to see from that perspective, Christ mindset, also been called, and being able to operate from that position and allow the God in us or the God that we are uh, continue to work and operate as we developing our self mastery into becoming more and more of that, or allowing more and more of what we are to be what who we are inside of us, or it that is inside of us, that powerful thing be seen on outside of us. This will be the other segue and the key to unlocking the Bible. This will be 3.2.1 because as I went back over the book of Enoch, which we're doing the book of Enoch and the Watchers and the Kings, key to unlocking the Bible, 3.2 of the Watchers, I inadvertently ran over and skipped book 6, what will be called book 6. And I want to go back over and read it. And also, as I said, I would read over, go back over the video and critique them because I make them and don't do no editing or nothing like that. But I go back over and watch them and somewhat say critique myself or pick up on things I might have missed the first time and let hindsight be the vision that I used into going into it. So I did then took a couple more notes too, and we'll be reading over a good little bit of the verses going through here and a couple of things that we pointed out too. So we'll be starting back in book 4 and going through a couple of verses in there, pulling out a couple of verses from chapter 4, chapter 5, chapter 6, and chapter 7. And I also won't read all the way up into all the way through all of them. I'll just go to pinpoint all the way through all of them. But we read in the beginning of it from book 1 about how the Watchers came down, and Aziel, I think that's the way we're pronouncing the name. Him and all his other ones, they had made a pact, and the place that they came down was Mount Hermon. And Mount Hermon um, can also be, it was also in the Bible was known as Mount Sinai, the same place where Moses got his the 10 Commandments from God, or the place in the wilderness that the children of Israel heard from God speaking, and all the things that took place in it. And I forgot which book it is. I don't want to. I'm missing if I do this. I think it's in Exodus or Deuteronomy 1 or 2. And so and Enoch's experience, or Enoch's account of it, he's saying that this is the same place that the fallen angels came down, or the Watchers came down. And when we get into the other chronicles or scriptures or texts, all of this that we get into, that all the stuff, information I bring, all of it is literature, whether it's from stone tablets or from the papyrus or the Dead Sea Scrolls or any of the other things that it was written on, like from paper and all this other stuff, or wherever they was taken from, time period or whatever, location, geographical location, and the things that they used to write them on, whether it was the using hieroglyphics, the hieroglyphics, or the cuneiform form with the reed and the wet clay, or the chiseling, and some of the other ones they don't know how the inscriptions got into the stones and things of that nature, to the writing on the reeds or the papers and things of that nature. So all of it is literature, and so whenever I'm reading this literature, just like the Bible and wherever the transcripts that made it into what today is now the King James 1611, not the 1611, but some of the older ones that we were talking about with 1611, then they're older um, canonical or chronicles of the Bible. There have been different councils where they got together and came with the writings of the different books or different interpretations or different versions of the Bible from the Latin to Greek and from the Greek to Latin. Give me 1 second. I'm going to search these notes and see. All right, I couldn't find those notes, but um, those synostics, and there's other texts beyond that that was older than that. And then as you as I did more studying and researching, you find out that there's uh, the way that they're ordered in the Bible, or the way that they're listed, like from Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, doesn't mean that Matthew was the first book. Mark was written before those, and before the four Gospels, Mark was one of the oldest. Then it was Matthew, and then Luke had his account, which was like each one of them about several years later after the death of Christ. Like the oldest one they have out of those four, I think, was around 70 AD, something like that, after his death, and which is Mark. I don't know the actual dates, but if you do your research, you'll see too that there the earliest accounts doesn't mean they're the first books written. And like I think it's one of the Corinthian books, or one of those that Paul written, is actually one of the oldest manuscript that they have of the New Testament period. So that's another thing, that you look at whenever you're on your journey for self-mastery, and you begin your spiritual search from somewhere. And most of the time, like I said, for us, we end up in a place. For us, it was a religion in Southern Baptist, and the teaching and indoctrination and a lot of the dogma given into it. And that goes with Muslims and the Catholic and the Roman, a bunch of more of those nature. They're all are just different proportions or different versions of the same thing. Um, but nevertheless, just be open-minded to the scriptures that you do read, and look at them and read them for what they are. Do some research, and let the spirit inside of you be the conductor, and not a force from outside of you telling you how, when, and what. Whenever you can rely on the inward source. All of us have the spirit of God, or have the godness in us, and the consciousness and the spirit of discernment is within all of us. It's whether we're gonna listen to it or not. So this is what helps determines truth, or helps us establish. I'm not gonna say establish it neither, but help us recognize truth. And from that truth, that us pulling things up under a microscope, we can actually see them for what they are, and then you can make your sound decision of what to do afterwards, or what to do with the information you've now seen and clearly have seen. So, and the teaching and the preaching that I do is mostly to help us get away, or help explain how I call what I got away from the doctrination and the dogma of the you have to believe in order to understand and to receive this information. And I get the gist of it in the simplest form of having the ability to believe in something that you have no knowing about. Everyone has that ability. Everyone has faith, or the ability to act upon what you believe. Everyone has a measure of belief. They have it. So being able to read things and see things and understand things, and be able to answer a lot of questions that's left a lot into what I was raised up into, Christianity, and a lot of things of that nature. There's a bunch of inconsistencies and a bunch of unanswered things, and a bunch of things. Mainly what's done with it is thrown on to God, and it's left to God, that all things are possible through God, no matter how unlogical or how crazy some of the things that we hear, or that I have believed to be true at a time. As far as we might hear about Samson and the strength of Samson and the way he was able to tear off city gate doors and carry them up the hill and the cliff, and those were 30 to 40 feet tall, maybe taller city gate doors that he was able to snatch off, him being a skinny man, not one real full of muscles, but being a Nazarite, one connected by the spiritual being, one able to use his inner self and express his strength and the gift that he had, that was not a physical outward display of the strength, but it was all inwardly. The outward display he had was his dreadlocks. And that's my understanding and my interpretation of Samson. But him being able to do all those great things that he done and being mighty, even though he erred, and nobody you're going to hear about in the Bible or in the patriarchs or in the Old Testament that ever was used by God, chosen by God, ever operated or walked perfectly. Even the ones that were deemed righteously were liars and and other things of that nature in their own character, or have been written down that they actual things that they events that took place and things that they actually done. So, or hear about the things that took with Moses and the miraculous things he was able to do with showing off the power of the God that he knew, the invisible God at that time, with Pharaoh, with the being able to have leprosy, to perform leprosy by sticking his hand inside of his cloak and pulling it out and sticking it back in, turning his sticks into serpents, turning water into blood, plaguing the place with a bunch of things, and and parting the Red Sea, and all the other miracles that happened with them once they got out into the wilderness, the manner that rained in from heaven from God, and all these other things, just because of the protection and the guidance of God up under the leadership of Moses, and all these wonderful things that took place, and even some of the tragic things that took place while they were in the wilderness and wandering for those 40 years. the, hear about Elijah and some of the things that he'd done, Elijah and some of the things that happened with them. And there's a couple more other incidents in the Bible where miraculous things happened, where the sun was able to stand still in certain places for certain people while they was at war, and those praying for it. I mean, and then the birth of Christ, and then there's a bunch of more supernatural miracles and things of way the messengers and everyone else interacted with mankind. So, in believing those things there, when you read other scriptures or other literature that describes other things and tell you in different things, for me, it was easier for me to understand those things, to be honest, because I was actually able to believe those things that I read from the Bible wholeheartedly. And a lot of those things, and those things in particular, were the things that I've always questioned about, and also about the promises of God and the protection of God that come with those that follow, those that obey and trust, and or those that were to keep with the Old Testament and try to uphold all the laws and the statutes. Question, live, and try to examine my life and fulfill those things as well. And then understanding the grace and the mercy that came with the New Covenant or the New Testament, supposedly the New Testament, the things about Christ and that relationship, and the reuniting of my consciousness back to God from the fall of man in the Genesis story. But being able to hear all these other things, like I said, we were bringing other books like the Enumeratus, Story of Oshirashis, the Myth of Adapa, the Milk of Gilgamesh. There's a couple more other things in the several emerald tablets. And there's a couple other books or literatures and scriptures as well in the Nag Hammadi, who has a bunch of more other literatures. And there's a bunch of more I haven't mentioned. And like I say, we're in the book of Enoch, and there's not a small amount of information about him neither out there. He has the first book of Enoch, in which we see here, and it goes down through the Watchers, the parables, and it goes through the birth of Noah, the wisdom of, or the secrets of Enoch, So there's a bunch of that come with this too. And then there's a second Enoch, and there's a third Enoch. I won't cover all of those, but there's a lot of things in here that, like I say, that from an open mindset and believing a lot of things to be possible or that was able to be done in the Bible. These other literatures help for me fill in a bunch of pieces or give more understanding to it and take away a bunch of the void. Not saying that the Bible is completely right or none of these other things. I'm just telling you that on my search for self-mastery, I've found truth in a lot of different places. And I haven't found total truth in one place. So as I was saying earlier, as we go through all these other stuff and go through all these other scriptures and or whatever things that we do, the main focus on the main thing for it is I want to be able to bring a little bit more knowledge, information, and insight to be able to allow your mind to have different point of view to understand it. And I guess more than anything from someone who's experiencing it and someone who's examining, living the thought and pushing it to that. So like I was saying, we get back to the screen sharing and we'll get into this and we'll start at 4. And I think somewhere around, I'll get to the exact verse in a little bit, but we talked about the Mount Hermon and Mount Sinai and all these other things. And there'll be other incidents like this in the book of Enoch that we'll talk about that brings a different perspective or maybe bring more insight into some of the things that are already been spoken about into the Bible. Like I was saying about the Mount Hermon and the Mount Sinai is, there's a bunch of, I would say, similarities in the book of Enoch. And then at the same time, I can see a bunch of the things where they may not have wanted it to be in the canon outside of 1611. Prior to that, a lot of this information was already there and it was a part of the so-called Bible once it was translated over from the Hebrew to the Greek, or to the Hebrew to the Latin, then the Latin into the Greek. It's one of those two. So 1611 was the last time it's been done, but you always had the revisions and the revised versions of it, NIVs and all this other stuff. But I think it's a credible book as far as if you want to get information. Not saying that it fits and lines up with everything in the Bible, however, maybe or whatever, but that's not my question. Just saying it's good information and it's a good read. And so let's go. Get this ready and we'll go to chapter 4, verses 1 through 9. I'm gonna screen share and go find it here. I found the right one. I apologize. There we go. I think 1 through 9 here, it talks about the parts about them falling on Mount Hermon and all the angels and let me see. And I'm see why I had the reason. Okay. And it talks about the flood starting 1 through 9. So this is the same thing that it speaks briefly about the flood in here. So the same thing is speaking about Noah. It speaks about him coming to tell Noah's father about it and to warn him of it. And talked about much crying and the blood shed, and of the earth without the habit cries, no voice. And they said to the Lord of age and to King, the glory standeth at the voice. And I see the Isaiah 1. And then go to the daughters of men of the earth and slept. Now behold, the soul dry crying. The Lord is on before they came to pass. Thou sayest these things, thou doest suffer them, but thou doest not say to us what we should do to them in regard to this. I'm gonna read some of this here at 9 real quick. Then said the Most High, the Holy and the Great One spake, and sent Uriel to the son of Lamech, and said unto him, Go to Noah and tell him in my name, hide thyself, and reveal to him the end that is approaching, that the whole earth will be destroyed, and a deluge is about to come upon the whole earth and will destroy all that is on it. And now instruct him that he may escape and his seed may be preserved for all the generation of the world too. And so this word deluge here is something else you'll hear about in the um in New Milish, and it's the Samaritan tablets about the Babylonian story of creation. And they talked about the great deluge that was caused by the Anukai by Enlil and his brother Enuki, but that Inky, and that'll be later on. And some of these keys are unlocking the Bible. Okay, so at 10, and again the Lord said to Raphael, bind Haziel. Give me 1 second. Emma, that's one to walk in on me. It's all good though. And the Lord said unto Raphael, bind Azael hand and foot, and cast him into the darkness, and make an opening in the desert, which is the Dudel, and cast him therein, and place upon him rough and jagged rocks, and cover him with darkness, and let him abide there forever, and cover his face, that he may not see the light. In the day of the great judgment, he shall be cast into the fire, and heal the earth with the angels have corrupted, and proclaim the healing of the earth, that they may heal the plague, that the children of men may not perish. Though all the secret things that the watchers have disclosed and have taught their sons, and the whole earth has been corrupted through the works that were taught by Azael, to him ascribe all sin. Okay. Okay. And then down here, I just wanted to bring up that about the deluge, and I wanted to make sure I didn't miss nothing else. We have to go on down here to chapter 5. And if you want to read more about the flood, you'll read all the way through 1 through 33 in chapter 4. We're going to go to chapter 5, 1 through 16 real quick. Forgive me for the scrolling. A bug in here. Give me 1 second. I see leaving the door open doesn't help too much. Sorry about that. And one of the bugs from earlier today had come in. Okay. I heard chapter 5. I was saying 1 to 16. The reason the watchers were punished. So we'll run through 1 through 16 real quick. The book of the words of the righteous, and of the reprimand of the eternal watchers, in accordance with the command of the Holy Great One. In that vision I saw in my sleep, that I will now say with a tongue of flesh and with the breath of mouth, which the Great One has given to me, to converse therewith and understand with the heart. As he has created and given to man the power of understanding the words of wisdom, so hath he created me also, and given me the power of reprimanding the watchers, the children of heaven. I wrote out your petition, and in my vision it appeared thus, that your petition will not be granted unto you throughout all the days of eternity, and that judgment hath been finally passed upon you. Your petition will not be granted unto you, and from henceforth you shall not ascend into heaven until all eternity. And in bonds of the earth, excuse me, the decree has gone forth to bind you for all the days of the world. And previously you have seen the destruction of your beloved sons, and ye shall have no pleasure in them, but they shall fall before you by the sword, and your portion of their behalf on their behalf shall not be granted, nor yet on your own, even through your weep and pray, even though you weep and pray, and speak all the words contained in the writings which I have written. And the vision was shown to me thus: behold, in the vision, clouds invited me, and a mist summoned me, and the course of the stars and the lightning sped and hastened me. And the winds in the vision caused me to fly and lift me up towards and bore me into heaven. And I went till I drew nigh to the wall, which is built of crystals and surrounded my tongue of fire, and it began to affright me. And I went into the tongues of fire and drew nigh to a large house which was built of crystals, and the walls of the house were like a tessellated floor made of crystal, and its groundwork was of crystal. Its ceiling was like the path of the stars, and the lightning, and between them were fiery cherubim, and their heaven was water. A flaming fire surrounded the walls, and its portals blazed with fire. And I entered into the house, and it was hot as fire and cold as ice. There were no delights of life therein. Fear covered me, and trembled got a hold of me. And as I spake and trembled, I fell upon my face, and I beheld a vision. And lo, there was a second house greater than the former, and the entire portal stood upon open before me, and it was built of flames of fire. And in every respect, it so excelled in splendor and magnificence and exact that I could not describe to you its splendor and its extent. Magnificent and extent, my bad. And its floor was of a fire, and above it were lightning and the path of the stars. And its ceilings also was flaming fire. And I looked and saw therein a lofty throne. Its appearance was of crystal, and the wheels thereof as a shining sun. And there was the vision of the cherubim. And so this right here is something else that made me think about something. Right here at 16, and I looked and saw therein a lofty throne. Its appearance was as crystal, and the wheels thereof as the shining sun, and there was the vision of the cherubim. So I was trying to figure out what kind of throne this was that had wheels, or was it a seat inside of something that had wheels, or something made out of crystal that had wheels and shining like the sun, some kind of craft, spacecraft or something like that, or some kind of flying device or some kind of drivable device. But anyway, like I said, it's just a thought of mine. Okay, and 17, and from underneath the throne came streams of flaming fire, so that I could not look thereon. And the great glory sat thereon, and his raiment shone more brightly than the sun, and was whiter than any snow. So this right here would be the Most High God, or what we would know as, or what we've been taught and preached as God, the Most High God. Um, and it talks about the throne that he sat upon and the things that I was reading about up there. And underneath the throne came streams of flaming fire, so that I could not look thereon. So he wasn't even able to look upon the throne really to tell too much about it, or him that sat upon it tell too much about him, because of the flaming fire that shot from up under the throne. What makes me, like I say, sound like might have been a spaceship or something, with the fire coming out from the bottom of it, making it hard to see the person actually sitting up here, like you would say with Iron Man. In a sense, instead of him using his thing to fly with, say it was fire on a circular disc or whatever it might have been, a platform, whatever, saucer or disc, with the fire coming down, making it hard to see the person actually sitting there on the throne above it. Okay, and the great glory sat thereon, and his raiment shone more brightly than the sun, and was whiter than any snow. None of the angels could enter and could behold his face by reason of the magnificence and the glory, and no flesh could behold him. So this is what another thing that brings me to the mind of nobody being able to see God face to face, because of his glory will consume the person instantly. It's the same way in the Torah and the older Bible testaments, in the Old Testaments, the way that no one should be able to see, or it was said that nobody could see God face to face and live. Um, but I believe it was Jacob that wrestled with God all night, and he named the place and the altar he built Pineal or Pineal Gland, saying that's the place that he saw God face to face, or wrestled with God face to face, and lived to tell about it. And Moses was able to see him in a sense, but he was telling Moses that his glory was too much, that he would pass by and wouldn't allow him to go through that. But they say when Moses came off the mountain and seeing the glory of God up there, the bit he was able to see in the cliff, that his face shined so much that he had to cover his face before he went to the people or could present himself to the people, because the people couldn't look at him because his face shined so bright. That's in the Bible. So this is like I say, this is something that makes me think about, or this right here is some more information I said it would be credible to, or more information to look at as far as give more explanation into that, or give you more information on that subject of beholding the glory of God. And then there's other time there was angels that came that would tell the man or the woman that they appeared to know to have no fear, because I believe that they saw God face to face, even if they carried this God-like light or this God-like glow about themselves. If they were one of the messengers or God himself. Abraham walked with God himself before the Sodom and Gomorrah thing. And if somebody else, Enoch, and outside of Enoch, there was someone else, if I can think of, I will mention them. But so there was a whole thing about, and established that you couldn't see God face to face and live. No man will be able to withstand his glory. But this is another place that make reference of that notion of him too, and gives more deeper detail too. But like I was saying about some of the messengers that will come and tell the people not to have no fear because, God sent them, or they have a message from God, and this and yada, yada, yada. And some of them appeared in miraculous ways too, the way that what makes one believe it would be God, because they appeared out of nowhere and stood amongst them. Some came through fires. If you read about the Bible, I don't forget, I think it was Samson's mama, or either if it wasn't Samson mama and daddy who seen the angels that came through the fire and left back out, it was either who anointed Saul. Um Trying to think of that. He went and woke that prophet up from his sleep. Um Samuel. Samuel. Might have been with Samuel, I'm not sure. Don't quote me on that. But if you have read or come up in the Bible, you know what I'm talking about. You can Google it and find it. Well, this is a part in the story I want to pull out too, that earlier I read through. If I skipped it, I just wanted to pick back up on it and point it back out as well. Um, uh, and then it went on down to here to talk about why their sin was so great with the Watchers. Enoch goes on to tell them after this stuff here and talking about these things. Let me finish here at 20. The flaming fire was around. The flaming fire was around about him, and a great fire stood before him, and around about could draw, and none around could draw nigh him. 10,000 times 10,000 were before him, yet he needed no counselor. So they even talks about the 10,000 of 10,000 of the other angels and things that stood before his throne that could not approach him, but they stood before him, that could not approach him, that always basically stood around the throne. They said, but yet he needed no counselor. So they stood around as if they were the advisors, from my thought. Or this is just saying, talking about, and it helps identify the Most High God. God being God all by himself and need no one else, and all these other things, which later on we'll be able to talk about the differences in those two, and about the difference in gods and the gods that actually made those statements, and who that God was, if it was the Most High God or some of these, what we were calling the Bible lowercase gods, but they're all uppercase gods, all lowercase gods. Anyway, and it goes on to talking here later on in the rest of chapter 5 about how the angels basically, or the Watchers, the ENOCH or the Gigi is a uh, they're more, I ain't gonna say a species, but they're another kind of ENOCH. They were the working class or the lower class of a ENOCH. But nevertheless, there was a ENOCH. And these are Gigi. We hear about in other stories were the watchers to watch over the earth and do all this other thing. I think they station was either on Mars, I believe on Mars or Saturn, Mars, one of those. But we'll get into the other literature if we better be more pinpoint precise with it. But um, they came down and made it with women, and it says on here too that the women seduced them, and they became something like mermaids for their punishment. But the reason for their punishment was that they were not made to reproduce, and that man was given a wife to reproduce so as all of his needs can be met upon the earth and they won't need anything. They will always have a helpmate or someone to help them accomplish all the physical needed for the earth. And those being spiritual, which the watchers were, fell from their holy estate and made themselves abominable by intertwining with these fleshly beings and creating babies out of them. And out of those babies, they produced giants. And out of those giants, he said that their spirits would be the demons that we know upon the earth. And let me find out, go and see what the rest of this is in here. So we're in 17, so between 17 and 34. You want some? We're going to start at 24. And go say to the watchers of heaven who have sent thee to intercede for them, you should intercede for man and not man for you. Wherefore you have left the high holy and entered an eternal heaven and lain with women and defiled yourself with the daughters of men and taken to yourself wives and done like the children of earth and begotten giants as your sons. And though ye were holy, spiritual, living the eternal life, you have defiled yourself with the blood of women and have begotten with the blood of flesh. And as the children of men have lusted after flesh and blood, as those also do who die and perish. Therefore have I given them wives also that they might impregnate them and beget children by them, and thus nothing might be wanting to them on earth. But you were formerly spiritually living the eternal life, the immortal for all generations of the world, and therefore I have not appointed wives for you. For as for the spiritual ones of the heavens, in heavens is their dwellings. And now the giants who are proceeded from the spirits and flesh shall be called evil spirits upon the earth, and on the earth shall be their dwelling. So they're stuck here. This is the dwelling of the spirits of the giants, the kids of the watchers and the woman. So 29, evil spirits have proceeded from their bodies because they are born from men and from the watchers in their beginning and primal origins. They shall be evil spirits on earth, and evil spirits shall they be called. And the spirits of the giants afflict, oppress, destroy, attack, do battle, and work destructions on the earth and cause trouble. They take no food, but nevertheless hunger and thirst and cause an offense. So I believe that from what they're saying here is that they take no food, but nevertheless hunger and thirst and cause offense. That this right here is what they're always consuming. And the spirits of the giant afflict, oppress, destroy, attack. This is what they always hunger and thirst for, and it's never filled with. And 31. And these spirits shall rise up against the children of men and against the women, because they have proceeded from them, from the days of the slaughter and destructions and death of the giants, from the souls of whose flesh the spirits, having gone forth, shall destroy without, incurring judgment. Thus shall they destroy until the day of the consummation, the great judgment in which all age shall be consummated over the watchers and the godless, yea, shall be wholly consummated. So it's saying that they're going to be doing that until the day of everything is done, what we would know in the Bible, the day of judgment. After all the sinners have been punished, and Enoch talks about this as well. They just don't call it that, or the day of judgment, or the day of consummation here, or in other phrases. But it's the time after everybody's been and everything has been destroyed, thrown into the hell, and everything has been thrown into the lake of fire. And this is when um, they will be finished, and this is when it will be done. They're going to do that all the way up to the point where they are cast into the lake of fire. Yeah, so let me go ahead and finish this down here. And now the watchers who have sent thee to intercede for them, who have been aforetime in heaven, say to them, you have been in heaven, but all the mysteries had not yet been revealed to you, and ye knew worthless ones, and this is the hardness of your hearts. You have made known to the women, and through their mysteries, women and men work much evil on the earth. Say to them, therefore, you have no peace. Okay. And that was the end of chapter 5. And chapter 6, we're going to read through. And I know I had you here for a minute anyway, but we got to go through chapter 6. And it's only a couple of verses here. I'm gonna stop at 18 and 24 because there's something I wanted to show there. Also at verse 23, and then a couple things I wanted to point out in chapter 7, and then I'll be finished. But let's go here with chapter 6. And this is the reason for the rest of this video, or the beginning and the making of this video, because when I was showing in the first section of this, I was at 6, and I wanted to see how much I had left to read because I didn't know how far I was going to go in the video. And I was at the end of chapter 5, and skipped over 6 and went straight to 7. And if you've seen the video, if you go back and watch it, you can see where I verbally made the mistake and then turned around and physically finished out the mistake. And I also spoke about me correcting it. But here's the point I want to make on that, and just be careful and know how powerful things are, that the things that we think, whether it's actually what was on the paper or what I intended to do, I spoke it and it came to pass. So anyway, chapter 6, taken by the angels. Angels took and brought me to a place in which those who were there were like flaming fire. And when they wished, they appeared as men. And this was some of the stuff I was talking about outside of some of the places and the way that Enoch describes the afterlife, or what happens after death, and what happened with the watchers and all these other things with God and these angels, and seeing all these other things with the stars, the moon, and the sun, and seeing the circuits of the sun and the way they travel and all these other things. This is another thing I talk about, being able to believe some of the things in the Bible, help open my mind, and to help me not shut my mind to things like that, to hear about men or the angels took and brought me to a place in which those who were there were like flaming fire. And when they wished, they appeared as men. So walked around as men when they chose to, but they were like flaming fires. So I haven't tried to dig into no interpretation or no resemblance of anything to make out of that. It's just something that I was saying that it just sticks out, and it's like, wow, that's some pretty crazy stuff. Anyway, right here too, and they brought me to a place of darkness and to a mountain of a point whose summit reached the heavens. And I saw the places of the luminaries and the treasures of the stars and of the thunder, and in the uttermost depths where were a fiery bow and arrows and their quiver, and a fiery sword, and of all the lightning. And they took me to the living waters and to the fire of the west, which receive which receives every setting of the sun. And they took me to the living waters and to the fire of the west, which receives every setting of the sun. Sorry. And I came to a river of the fire, in which the fire flows like water, and it discharges itself into the great sea towards the west. I saw the great rivers and came to the great rivers and to the great darkness, and went to the place where no flesh walks. I saw the mountains of the darkness of the winter, and the places whence all the waters of the deep flow. I saw the mouth of all the rivers of the earth and the mouth of the deep. I saw the treasures of all the winds. I saw how he had furnished with them the whole creation and the firm foundations of the earth. And I saw the cornerstone of the earth. I saw the four winds which bear the firmament of the heaven. And this is the other thing, talking about the firmament. This Bible speaks about the God created that's separating us from the waters above and the waters below. Same reason I believe that we really haven't been out of space, or we have left outside of the dome, or been able to travel through the dome to go into the other places. I don't believe we actually got technology for it. I believe we've lifted up off the landmass a whole lot and went to a certain point. But like I say, that's just something I just want to go and put out there too. Not trying to be a flat earther or promote any of that or speak about those other things. And these are some of the things and words you'll see a lot on the internet when you search and you hear about Enoch or you search the Bible. You'll find people trying to prove the firmament and prove the flat earth and prove a bunch of other things. And really with me, I'm not trying to prove anything. If anything, I talk about some things that I have experienced thoughts or have examined the thoughts or whatever, but that's about all of it is. I'm not trying to make one thing right or one thing wrong. I'm just a share of information and a guide through my own head. All right. Here, number 10. And I saw how the winds stretch out the vaults of the heavens and have their stations between heaven and earth. These are the pillars of the heavens. I saw the winds of heaven, which turn and bring the circumference of the sun and all the stars of their settings. I saw the winds of the earth carrying the clouds. I saw the path of the angels. I saw at the end of the earth the firmament of the heavens above, and I proceeded and saw a place which burns day and night, where there are 7 mountains of magnificent stones. So even here at 13, it speaks a little something like I was talking about the firmament and being able, him being able to warn, to see past it and go past it. And it's in the second Enoch as well. He speaks about the 10 heavens. There's 10 different heavens from the first one to the second one to the third one. One of them is what the watchers are held until the day of punishment. Paradise is in one of them, and then there are different other ones. Like I said, you go do the research and do the things on it too, and help and get a bunch of more information. Like I said, I'm not going to cover all the information I have in my head, all the research and the studies I've done, just doing a lot of the stuff that I feel like is needed for the purpose of this segue of keys to unlocking the Bible. But he speaks about the firmament of the heaven above, and I proceeded and saw a place which burns day and night, where there are 7 mountains of magnificent stones. So I don't know if he's talking about going beyond the firmament or making it to the edge of the firmament. Something they say too also, like I say, this is speculation, nothing I really dug into in this part, at Antarctica and beyond that, the ice wall. And if you travel far enough beyond that, you'll find other lands beyond the ice wall, and maybe there's where the firmament may end. That's why NASA always shoot their spaceships like this or their rockets like this. You never see none go straight up and go towards, because they know the firmament. But anywho, like I say, all that speculation, not truth. 14, 3 towards the east and 3 towards the south. And as for those towards the east was of colored stone, and one of pearl and one of jasper, and of those towards the south of red stone. But the middle one reached to the heavens like the throne of God, a alabaster, and the summit of the throne was a sapphire. And I saw a flaming fire, and beyond these mountains is a region, the end of the great earth, where the heavens were completed. Now, 16 says, and I saw a flaming fire And beyond these mountains, in a region, the end of the great earth, there the heavens were completed. And I saw a deep abyss with columns of heavenly fire, and among them I saw columns of fire fall, which were beyond measures, unlike alike toward the height of towards the depth. And behold, the abyss. I saw a place which had no firmament of the heavens above, and no firmly foundation earth beneath it. There was no water upon it, and no birds, but it was a waste and a horrible place. I saw there 7 stars like great burning mountains. And to me, when I required regarding them, the angel said, "This place is the end of heaven and earth." So we know the Bible speaks about the time comes at the end of heaven and earth, before the new heaven and earth and come. At the end of the time of the troubles and all this other stuff, it speaks of it here as a specific place like he could take them to. So I don't think it's talking about the end of all of everything into the universe or the multiverse and all the heavens, or that just up under the heavens and outside of that, outside of the dome. Is it a specific place, or is it just a place that is in one of those heavens we were talking about? I believe it is more so one of the heavens that it speaks about in this second Enoch, where the watchers and the demons are held. And the rest of this may help um, explain that or back that up. But that's the place he was speaking about. I believe he was speaking about up there in 18 and 19. I saw there 7 stars like great burning mountains, and to me, when I inquired regarding them, the angel said, "This place is the end of heaven and earth. This has become a prison for the stars and the host of heaven." So I meant to say at the end of 19 when I spoke up previously. I said 18, but I meant the end of what we're talking about in here about that place. There's a prison for them. And the stars which roll over the fire are they which have transgressed the commandments of the Lord in the beginning of their rising, because they did not come forth at their appointed times. And he was wroth with them and bound them till the time when their guilt should be consummated for 10,000 years. And Uriel said to me, "Here shall stand the angels who have connected themselves with women and their spirits, assuming many different forms and defiling mankind, and shall lead them astray into sacrifices to demons and as gods." And astray into sacrificing to demons as God. That's another thing we get into when we get into these other tablets. I keep saying, I say older texts, or some of the older texts when I speak about the tablets or the numeralish and um, those other books of that nature. And it speaks about some of this stuff in it as well. Um, so about the different gods or the demons as gods. So Uriel said to them, and they were told, okay, 23, "Here shall they stand till the day of the great judgment, in which they shall be judged till they are made an end of. And the women also of the angels who went astray shall become sirens." So these sirens or Syrians or whatever this is, I don't know how to pronunciate it, or if I'm not saying it right or pronouncing it right. Look it up. These are like mermaids. Um, so you hear the spirits of the watchers, the part of the punishment for the watchers so far is taking place is that they're held in captivity until this time comes, until the day of judgment. This is the place that they're held at for that. And they're from that place, they're going to watch their kids die, and the kids' spirit is going to be left upon the earth and be called evil spirits that are going to possess and be demonic spirits and are going to get into mankind and raise all kind of havoc. The Bible speaks of many possessions and poltergeist moments of individuals in the Bible. And So outside of that, there's punishment also for the women that they slept with, that they would say that lured them into or led them astray, or that they went astray after them, will be turned into the mermaids that we hear about. So that's their punishment. So these are some of the things I say that I can believe, and at the same time, I'm not saying that I went and thrown all my faith into running into out believing and building a lifestyle behind it. But as far as literature and reading a bunch of stuff, I can believe this in that sense. So um there's some other stuff, like I say, that is pretty crazy. So now you know where the mermaids come from, and this is some of the stuff I can see why didn't make the Bible, because it doesn't fit the criteria for what they're or for what it was designed for. Okay, I think that's what I wanted to point out in 23 out of 18 and 24. Uh, and I, Enoch, alone saw this vision at the ends of all things, and no man shall see as I have seen. And I think that's the end of 6. And we did do, so I got chapter 7. Gabriel, one of the holy angels who is over paradise, and the serpents and the cherubim. So I want you to remember this here when we get later on into the parables about Gabriel here. And this one of the holy angels, and unless I've read it wrong, we'll fix it when I get there. But it uh Gabriel is the one that beguiled Eve in the garden. And here it said that he is over the paradise, which is the other separate place, the place Jesus talked about, the place that we would really know in Christianity as heaven, but um, it's not the same place of the throne of the Most High God and what we think that is the paradise, or some of the places that speaks about here about the throne where the Most High God is it. And in Christianity, we've been taught that where the throne of God is, that is where heaven is, and the angels fly around and do all these other things. And we hear about the description of the throne of God here in the Enoch, where the flames are at and the wheels shine like bright, and his garment is white, brighter than snow, and nobody can look upon him. He got 10 and 10s, 1,000 before him, and nobody can approach him. So it's not going to be the same paradise that you would think it would be where you can approach God. But it's the paradise described it more so that place where you have the interaction with God, and the place is pleasant and sweet and everything is good and life is great there. But we'll get more into that when we get into the parables. And now we say too about over the serpent. They say the serpent is the one who beguiled Eve in the garden and had her to do all these other crazy things in the garden, and to take out the tree of knowledge and eat of the tree of knowledge. And I got a little bit more in here to show you, and in here we get more about the tree of knowledge and the tree of life. I just wanted to point that out in there, so when we do get down there later on, if I can remember to bring that back out and expound on it more. Okay. Places of this. I think I want to point out something at 18. So I'm going to go to 18 and 20. I got it marked down for some reason. And thence I went to another place, the mountain of the hard rock. And there was in it 4 hollow places, deep and wide and very smooth. How smooth are the hollow places, the deep and dark to look at. Then Raphael answered, one of the holy angels, who was with me, and said unto me, these hollow places have been created for this very purpose, that the spirits of the souls of the dead should assemble therein. Yea, that all the souls of the children of men should assemble here. And these places have been made to receive them till the day of their judgment and till their appointed period, till the great judgment upon them. And I saw a dead man making a suit, and his voice went forth to heaven and made suit. And I asked Raphael, the angel who was with me, and I said unto him, this spirit which maketh suit, whose is it? Whose voice goeth forth and maketh suit to heaven? And he answered me, saying, this is the spirit which went forth from Abel, whom his brother Cain slew, and he makes suit against him till his seed is destroyed from the face of the earth. His seed is annihilated from amongst the seed of men. Then I asked regarding it and regarding all the hollow places, why is one separate from another? And before we get into this at 24 and up here at 20, at 18 and 19, he was speaking about this place. And a lot of times we've asked the question about where do we go after death? What happens after death? What and how does that go? Do we die and immediately go to judgment to see do we go to heaven or hell? Or do we die, stay in the grave until Christ returns on the cloud and everyone is resurrected, ready to meet him in the air, and we're all changed in the twinkling of an eye, become these spiritual beings or in the nature that he is in. And those that'll be still given second chance or given another chance and given another chance, said that he's going to lock up the devil for 1,000 years and allow those, and everybody's going to be risen up. It didn't say it was going to keep the wicked and the evil in the grave. It said it was going to raise everyone else out of the grave. Everybody will get up. Those that were dead in Christ would meet him in the sky and come down to earth with him into that association or in that group of individuals to come back to the earth. But all of those that are dead in the earth will rise. The sea will give up their dead, the grave, the hell, and all of them. And they're going to lock the devil up for 1,000 years. And then they're going to loosen the devil. And then a decision to be made then too again. And if the people that had a chance to live and reign with Christ for 1,000 years while the devil was locked up, and then the devil was let out for 1,000 years to raise hell on the earth and havoc and do all this other stuff. Then the people had a chance to make another decision and another chance and another choice, because they will all have the chance to meet Christ. So that's another thing that was showed to me, or I would see through the scriptures in the Bible, that was different from the dogma or the doctrination that was taught to me about the seriousness of hell and not being forgiven. And once you die, dead, you over with. If you died in your sin, then you going to hell. Wasn't no chances. But in Revelation and in the Bible, we go to speaking about these different opportunities where after death, you're still going to have an opportunity to confess. It says that some won't. Some going to keep a hard heart. Didn't say that others wouldn't. But so like I was saying, a lot of questions about life after death and all these other things. And Enoch has a little bit about it. The Bible has none outside of what happened in Revelation. It doesn't say about the soul too much outside. They go into the bosom of Abraham. Or when you heard about hell or the word, I don't know the exact word that was translated. I can't think of it right now. That was the meaning for hell, but it was a place where everybody went. So they believed in a Jewish place that everybody that was good or bad, they all went to this place and had to wait. And it's more like a dark hell or whatever. But here we're going to continue on with Enoch's explanation, or his like I said, his explanation, his interpretation, or his thoughts and his visions on what it is. I think we'll back down here at 24. After he asked regarding them, and he answered me and said unto them, these three have been made, that the spirits of the dead might be separated. And such a division has been made, has been made for the spirits of the righteous, in which there is a bright spring water. So that's one of the places. And such has been made for sinners when they die and are buried in the earth, and judgment have not been executed on them in their lifetime. So that's the second place. Here their spirits shall be set apart in this great pain till the great day of judgment and punishment and torment of those who curse forever, and retribution for their spirits. There he shall bind them forever. And such a division has been made for the spirit of those who make their suit. So that's the third place. So who make their disclosure concerning their destruction, when they were slain in the days of their sinners. So these are all the people like Abel and everyone else, or those beyond that was murdered and killed, and were making their suit beyond the grave until heaven, disclosing concerning their destruction when they were slain in the days of their sinners. Such has been made for the spirits of men who were not righteous, but sinners, who were complete in the transgressors and of the transgressors, who were complete in transgressions, and of the transgressors they shall be companions, but their spirits shall not be slain in the day of judgment, nor shall they be raised from thence. Then I blessed the Lord of glory and said, Behold, be my Lord, the Lord of the righteousness, who ruleth forever. From thence I went to another place, and there will I pick up anywhere else in there. And then too, you'll see also that he described those angels as seven stars as big as mountains, and it talks about the 200 angels, all the watchers that was held into this place. Um, and they were described as stars. So um, I guess you can call that too another way that they will bring the reference of the fallen stars or the fallen angels that have fell down, just like fallen stars. And Satan, I have seen you, beheld you as you fell down from heaven as lightning, as Christ speaks about as well. Um, Let me see. Let's see. Okay, and then it goes on later on. Let me say, and I blessed the glory and said, Behold the Lord. I'm at 27. Therefore, I went to another place to the west of the ends of the earth, and I saw a burning fire which ran without resting and paused and caused not paused not from its course day or night, but regularly. And I asked, saying, What is this that rests not? Then um, Raguel, one of the holy angels who was with me, answered me and said unto me, The course of the fire which thou seest is the fire in the west which persecute all the luminaries of heaven. And from thence I went to another place of the earth, and he showed me a mountain range of the fire which burnt day and night. And I went beyond it and saw seven magnificent mountains, all different, each from the other. And the stones were magnificent and beautiful, magnificent as a whole, of glorious appearance and fair exterior, three towards the east, one founded on the other, and three towards the south, one upon the other, in deep, rough ravines, no one of which joined with any other. And the seventh mountain was in the midst of these, and it excelled them in height, resembling the seat of the throne, and fragrant trees encircled the throne. And amongst them was a tree such I had never yet smelt. Neither was any amongst them, nor were others like it. It had a fragrance beyond all fragrance, and its leaves and bloom and wood wither not forever, and its fruits is beautiful, and its fruits resembled the dates of a palm. And you go Google and look up some pictures of the dates of the palm. They're real big and clumpy. I would say like a cluster of grapes, but they're like these little pods. You might have 3 or 4 seeds inside of one of them. But they'll say that, and if you look at them, they look like they may be real desirable and real good. But he's describing here this tree and how it looked and the fruit looked, and he also says that the leaves, the blooms, and the wood withered not forever, that the tree didn't even never change, it never died, it never got old. Then I said, 35, then I said, How beautiful is this tree and fragrant, and its leaves are fair, and its blooms very delightful in appearance. Then answered Michael, one of the holy and honorable angels who was with me and was their leader. And he said unto me, Enoch, why doest thou ask me regarding the fragrance of the tree, and why doest thou wish to learn the truth? Then I answered him, saying, I wish to know about everything, but especially about this tree. And so that's another thing there that I'm all about too. Um, and what I would call righteousness, and then you have self-righteousness, and the self-righteousness, you just want to be right to be over someone, or you got to be right. And in self-righteousness, you'll claim to be right even when you're wrong, or it allow you to be so blind to your wrongness that you're still screaming that you're right. But I'm after righteousness to the point whereas that I'm after the truth. And I want the truth to be right. I want the truth that what stands is righteousness, or stand for the God, or the mantra for righteousness. And so as I want to be truthful as possible about all the things that I deal with, mostly within myself and everything else outside of myself, then I want to know everything. Just like ENOCH says here. But anyway, um, right at 39, and he answered, saying, this high mountain which thou hast seen, those whose summit is like the throne of God, is his throne. Here the holy great one, the Lord of glory, the eternal King, will sit when he shall come down to visit the earth with goodness. And as for his flagrant tree, no mortal is permitted to touch it till the great judgment, when he shall take vengeance on all of the and bring to its consummation forever. It shall then be given to the righteous and holy. Its fruit shall be for food to the elite. It shall be transplanted to the holy place, to the temple of the Lord, the eternal King. So into the paradise, translated to this holy place. And the paradise is the holy place. It's not the actual kingdom of heaven, but it is the holy place that he's going to transplant this after the tree and the people will be transplanted in a place near to his temple that's in that place. So there'll be a temple of God there, and he's going to come visit the people there. And that throne that you see is when he's going to come sit and visit the people there. And after he's taken and made the consummation, after the day or after the judgment day, when he comes and does those things, and he's going to reward the elite with this uh, tree of eternal life. In the Garden of Eden, man was kicked out before he could partake of the tree of life and have life eternal, because he ate out the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, or he ate out the tree of the knowledge, or ate out the tree that made him very wise. And therefore, he was kicked out of the garden before he done that. And now in Enoch, he speaks about more about that same tree and what happened to it. Where is it at? And it's here, in this location he's talking about here, not saying that this is the geographical location, but he described the place where it's at and then what's going to happen to it. Things of that nature. Okay, now we're here at 40. Then shall they rejoice with joy and be glad, and to the holy place shall they enter. So into the promised land, same place, enter into the new heavens, which are inside of, or which will be above the new earth, the new heaven and the new earth, not a place where God resides or where God lives. But, that's my opinion and my thought about it. Not saying it's facts, all that, still just my thoughts and my opinion. Is anything I have an understanding of? I think no one has, neither, because no one's been there or came back to tell, or been to hell, been there to tell, or been to beyond the stars to tell. Nevertheless, then shall they rejoice with joy and be glad, and into the holy place shall they enter, and its fragrance shall be in their bones, and they shall live a long life on earth, such as thy fathers lived, and in their days shall no sorrow or no plague or no torment or calamity touch them. So that sounds like the same promises of the gift of eternal life, where no pain, no sorrow. He will wipe away your tears. There will be no crying. It'll be only joy and good times in that place, or in paradise, or in heaven, once you enter into the eternal life. So this is the fruit that they're saying you're going to get off the tree of eternal life, is going to help bring that about, but it speaks about it in a different way. So in the Bible, we hear about it as if it is the end, and now we go on from there, and there's no more story to be told after receiving your eternal gift of eternal life and entering into that place, and that this is just what it's going to be. But Enoch describes it here in a way that is it's still going to be here on earth, and he's going to give them those things. I'm not going to say it's here on earth. Let me see how. Because some of forever shall begin to righteous home fruit holy place. They shall rejoice and be glad unto the holy place. Shall they enter into flavor, shall be bones, and they shall like it. Yes, yes, and it says on the earth. So this is what they say, and they shall rejoice. And it didn't say about in heaven. It didn't say about from what we hear about it in the Bible or taught through Christianity. This here is talking about the place of paradise or this specific place is going to pick the tree up and where he had the throne at. And then he also had the temple inside of that place or at that place. Um, and so even there is still is an eternal life. It's gonna give you fruit and let you live long like Adam and Eve and Methuselah and them did, but they still end up perishing. So I don't know if the concept of the whole thing is as long as they be able to eat these fruit, it's gonna give them that same long life. You're just gonna you continue to eat the fruit and you continue to live 900 more years, and then you want to worry about no pain, no suffering, and none of these other things, no sorrow, no plague, is what it says here. And that's what the book of Enoch, that's what Enoch says here, not me. Torment or calamity touched him because all the demons and all the other stuff is gone. Poof, poof. Anyway, so that's another thing I want to point out too. So it's a little different from, and it also sounds a lot like and similar to what we know as dying and going to heaven, and being with God, and being around the throne of God. You don't hear about no streets paved with gold, no pearly gates, neither in this place. A bunch of fire pillars. But anyway, what else I want to share before we get off of here? Mm, okay. Um, I think the next time we're going to hear about the other God in the tree. So I think that starts at 31. I mean, 56. That's the Lord, eternal King who have. Okay, so the end of what we were reading about the tree of or the tree of life or the tree of eternal life. Then blessed I, right here, 41, we'll finish it off with that thought. Then blessed I, the God of glory, the eternal King, who have prepared such things for the righteous and have created them and promised to give to them. So this is the promise of God and the promise of God to give you some of these other things of the gift of eternal life, the promise by God, who those that stand fast and don't waver and keep the faith and yada, yada, yada. This is the gift promised to them of eternal life. I have to roll down to 56. So we'll finish this. And I came to the garden of righteousness, and from afar off I saw numerous trees. And this is why I think that this right here is also the Garden of Eden. Not sure. I'm not 100% sure in it, but it just puts me in the mind of it. With the way it speaks about it, just calls it the Garden of Righteousness, and what else is still in it. Okay. And from afar off, I saw numerous trees and these great two trees, they're very great, beautiful, and glorious, and magnificent. And the tree of knowledge, whose holy fruit they ate and know great wisdom. That tree is in height like the strangler fig, and its leaves are like the carob tree, and its fruit is like the cluster of the vine. Very beautiful, and the fragrance of the tree uh, penetrates the floor. And then reading over a couple of these other descriptions here too, it kind of looks like the date palms as well. This tree does, and it has a bunch of similarities to the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. But the way Enoch describes it here, there's a whole lot more enticing that like I say, for me personally, I believe Eve and Adam both would have been more attracted to the tree of life of knowledge. I mean, of eternal life, more so than um, the tree of knowledge, from the way he describes the tree of eternal life. But they had a similarities into the way that they look and the way that they bear their fruit but they are still two like different trees, even though they're similar. Anyway, pray penetrate. Oh, okay, then I said, how beautiful is the tree and how attractive is it to look? So that's what Eve said as well. Then Raphael, the Holy One who was with me, answered and said, this is the tree of the wisdom of which thy father old and thy aged mother who were before thee have eaten, and they learnt wisdom, and their eyes were open, and they knew that they were naked, and they were driven out of the garden. And from thence I went to the ends of the earth and saw these great beasts. Oh, okay. So that's the end of that. And these are all the points that I was able to go through and pull that after going back over it and reading it and finishing chapter 6, which I had accidentally omitted. But like I say, if you can find it, I don't know if I put the link in or you've seen the cover, go back and watch the other videos, find the cover. You can find it on the internet and read the book for yourself. Examine it for yourself and get some of the things in it. And any other things that I might have missed, I might have pointed out, I just pointed out some things that stuck out to me. I don't know it all. I can't, I don't say I have the interpretation or explanation of it all. These were just some of the things that stuck out to me in the comparison that I wanted to show and share with you guys. So, like I said, I don't know how long the video is. I feel like I've been here for a while. I do want to thank you for taking the time out and investing in yourself, and you should thank yourself for taking the time out and investing in yourself, because the only reason you're watching this video is because you're searching for something to better yourself. And and the great all, the innovator or the creator of the all that we all come from, may it bless and give you all the revelation understanding you need on your search and your self-mastery and your self-walk or whatever you may deem it to be. But may the information be intended for what it was intended for, and maybe used for what it was used for, and may it bless you tremendously as it has blessed me. Look forward to you guys coming out and sharing the rest of the keys and unlocking the Bible with us. This was 3.2.1. We'll be doing the 3.3 with the parables. And I think they're kind of short enough. We may be able to do them in one sitting as well. I don't know if we get into the book of Noah, because I kind of do want to go through all of these. But at the same time, there's a couple more other books in the same whole complete book of Enoch that I don't want to get too far away from my scope or the microscope of the things that I want to enlighten us on, the key to unlocking the Bible. Like I said, I don't know how many series it'll be or how many segues it may be, but we're going to get down into it to where we better see other scriptures, other literature, and other texts and other things to help us give it more clarity. Because the main thing about it is I'm not trying to disprove or to discredit the Bible or give credit to other sources or discredit anything. I just want to be able to show us how, mainly through the Bible, there are certain things you can get away from the dogma and the doctrination and be able to see there's like a spiritual side of the teaching. I can't think of the actual word that they was used or the technical word they used for it, but there's a spiritual understanding and a spiritual consciousness about it that you be able to catch on to and understand. And in the way that Jesus speaks in parables are, sometimes you hear say, hey, those that have eyes to see and ears to hear, it'll make better sense for you when you could take those things away. And what's the only thing that I believe, honestly, in my heart, things that have helped me and that kept me from getting out of the dogma or the doctrination and all these other things, was the fear of hell and the fear of what if. And being able to be loosening yourself from those fears helps you be able to walk freely and to explore freely the vastness of yourself and the vastness of your heart, and search your heart for all the answers. So that God, the Bible tell you that God resides in the heart of man. But anyway, we want to thank you for coming out, joining in the Circle Ministries and our broadcast here. We want you to continue to like and subscribe. Help me get to 100 views. And when we get to 100 views, I dedicate myself to doing more live videos and more interactive. Maybe by the time I get to 100 views, I get more comments and more interactions from you guys in the comments. And so continue to like, subscribe, share with your friends. Thank you for coming out. Peace, love, prosperity, and extreme wealth to all.